Okay, well, let's get started. First of all, thank you for joining us. I will mention that there are certain things that we are not allowed to say. We're not able to talk about the types of securities, the nature of the securities, the price, the closing date, the use of proceeds, etc. We will be telling you a lot about Copperworks and about what we're up to, and we'll certainly answer all of those detailed questions, but they have to be answered at StartEngine on our webpage. The reason for that is to make sure that everybody has access to the same information. There's another reason that we're posting these webinars online so that everybody has access to whatever we talk about today. So again, feel free to ask questions in the chat. If there's a very specific question that we don't feel like we can answer on today's webinar, then we'll ask you to post that question on our StartEngine page, and then we'll answer it there so that everybody can see it. Well, without further ado, let's move forward. So we're going to give you a little bit of update on who Copperworks Distilling is. I think some of you probably already know, or you wouldn't even be here, but let's just run through. We've been open almost 10 years. Our anniversary is this coming October for a 10-year anniversary. So we opened in 2013. The distillery is located right on downtown Seattle's waterfront. We're making American single malt whiskey, a whole bunch of that. We're also making vodka and gin. All of those are made from malted barley. A couple of things about American single malt whiskey. We'll talk about some more during the presentation, but we are one of the leaders in that, and including being a founding member of the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission, which is the group to make that a legal definition in America. Very close to that designation, we believe. Also, we're the 2018 Distillery of the Year. That was named from American Distilling Institute. They only name one distillery every year, and you can never be named twice. So we were proud to receive that early in 2018. So let's move to the details of this conversation. Real quickly, this is our founding leadership team here. So again, my name is Jason Parker. I'm the president and co-founder. I have started my career as a brewer, so started in 1989 as the first brewer at the Pike Place Brewery. It's now called Pike Brewing Company, but it is the same organization. They're 3 blocks up the road from where our distillery is located. I had the opportunity to help open Fishtail Ales in Olympia, get their first recipes developed, train their brewers, then worked in Red Hook when they were in Fremont. Got to bring some of their ideas forward when opening and building Pyramid Breweries down in Soto in Seattle, and was brewmaster there for the first 7 years. We opened up Copperworks in 2013, and my business partner is Micah Nutt. Micah had been a home brewer extraordinaire, and he and I were friends for many years before opening the distillery together. He's a software developer, but he's also a craftsman in just about everything he does. And then we have on the line Jeff Kanof. Jeff's our vice president, and Micah and I hired Jeff before we even opened the tasting room to become our vice president, and he's been extraordinary and has been one of the reasons that we're still going. Jeff's been on the board of the American Craft Spirits Association for 2 terms now. And a secret little thing about Jeff is that he's also an attorney. Well, at least he was an attorney. He's recovering from that now. So let's move on. That's who we are. We're going to talk just a little bit about the challenge that we have here. The biggest challenge in any craft distillery is that we are making products to sell in future years, especially when we're talking about how important whiskey is as a category, and we being the leader in America, one of the leaders in American single malt whiskey, we feel like it's incredibly important for us to be putting up enough whiskey to sell in the future. So our whiskey matures for a minimum of 3 years. Sometimes some of the whiskeys will be between 7 and 8 years. So let's just always think of that as a 3 to 8 year cycle before that product can be sold. So that means that what we're putting up today, we may not be selling for an average of 5 years from now, between 3 and 8. We need to be planning for growth all of those years. So it's always important for us to put a lot of product up on the shelves to begin maturation. The craft spirit industry is growing like the beer industry had in the 30 years ago, is going very quickly. And so we're excited to be part of that and excited to be part of American single malt whiskey. It does seem like spirits are eating the lunch of some of the breweries. So we're happy to be in the right side of that equation this time, being not a brewer, but actually a distiller. So I'll say that we have many opportunities already in flight. One of our biggest challenges is producing enough product to fulfill demand. Let's go to the next slide and we'll talk a little more about that.
Do you just want to hit on the limited space challenge?
I do. Thank you. Sorry. The other issue with Copperworks Distilling is that we have a wonderful tasting room at 1,700 square feet. It's enough to get comfortably about 30 people in, but uncomfortably as many as 50. That's not enough space at all for the types of growth that we're seeing on the Seattle waterfront. So past years have been around 7 million. They're anticipating after the aquarium is completed that that'll be 3 times that, up to 21 million people a year on the waterfront. So we know that we need to grow our offering for customer space downtown, and we have an offer that we're going to be sharing with you to open up a tasting room. This is a new law that passed 3 years ago, and it allows craft distilleries to have multiple tasting rooms, so 2 more in addition to the one that's attached to their distillery. So this is an opportunity we're taking advantage of quickly in Kenmore. And all of that, of course, takes money to get open, but we see those as very big profit centers. Again, we'll talk more about that when we get into the details on those. So let's just talk a little bit about the size of the industry. So the craft spirits market is, in reality, it's been around since 1965, but in practice, it really feels like it's about 2010 when enough distilleries came to make it critical mass. That's up now, hitting a $40 billion market capitalization by 2026. And our particular focus being American single malt whiskey, of course, always making vodka and gin, but American single malt whiskey being one of the biggest upsides is a $16.8 billion market expected by 2025. So we know we have a lot of growth potential, and we're trying to put up as much whiskey as we can to reach that. All right. We already talked a little bit about the number of visitors that are coming down to the Seattle waterfront. What's incredibly important about that is we make a lot of first contacts through our tasting room. So people learn about Copperworks by walking in to our distillery and meeting us, getting the real story behind how we make our products, having a good time, and then ordering directly from us there or online. We can ship things to 37 states. So this waterfront development is a huge opportunity. We are located what you would think of as the heart of the Seattle waterfront. And with all of the millions of dollars of redevelopment going into there, it's one of the nicest looking places in Seattle. And that is 110 years behind schedule. The Seattle waterfront should have been a focus for years and years, but they are now focusing on it, and we're proud to be right in the center of it, right on the corner of Alaskan Way and the Harbor Steps. So we have a bunch of projects that we're going to talk in more detail about, but let's just tell you what the campaign has been raising so far. Last year, actually 2 years ago, we did our first campaign. Last year, we did a second campaign on StartEngine. This year, we're doing a third campaign. Last year, we raised $2 million with the goal of starting up to 3 projects. Our goal was to raise $5 million, but we were successful in getting 2. And one of the projects was to open a tasting room in Kenmore, right on the Burt Gilman Trail. Another one is to open a restaurant downtown Seattle, directly next door to Copperworks Distilling. to take advantage of all of those tourists coming. And then the third one was to drastically increase that amount of whiskey so that we're always putting up whiskey for future sales so that we're not hamstrung by lack of whiskey. So here's some details. And Jeff's playing the drive-by that you can see the Kenmore location is going up there. That is already in its final stages of the construction. In fact, the little inset photo that you see down in the bottom right-hand corner is what is built. What you see as the video is what we were planning to build. So when we go through these doors here, you'll see the similarities between what we have built and what we've been planning. So this gives you a good feel for what that's looking like. We still have the bar top to put on. We still have some kitchen equipment to get in and a little bit of landscaping outside, but we're very, very close to getting this open. We haven't painted the piano red yet, but I'm sure that's coming. We also have some neighbors up there that I think we're going to be in really good position with 192 Brewing next door and the Stand Up Powderboard Company on the same property. Right across the street is a new park that has access to the water. So we're excited about Kenmore for so many reasons. When we go through this door here in the fly-through, you'll actually see how close we are to the Burke-Gilman Bike Trail. In the background there is the Burke-Gilman Bike Trail. So there's thousands of people that will have the opportunity to come visit us on the north end of Lake Washington. We'll be doing cocktails, we'll have food, and we'll also have a variety of events up there, both private and public. So that's the Kenmore expansion. Let's move over to the downtown Seattle expansion. So downtown Seattle, as I said, is directly next door to our distillery. So again, the problem was that the distillery tasting room is big enough to get people in, buy a bottle and get them out, but it is not a place for you to enjoy a cocktail. It's not a place for you to learn how to use the products. But this building came available during COVID, and now we have the opportunity to make cocktails, tell a deeper story, do more engagements. Again, we can also have events, both private and public. This is a 2-floor building it's a 6-story building, but our room will be in 2 floors. So we'll be able to have the cocktail bar downstairs, and eventually we'll also open up a event space upstairs. So this is about 7,000 square feet. Our distillery and current tasting room is 7,000 square feet. So this drastically increases our footprint in the downtown area. We're really looking forward to seeing more and more of the tourists coming in from those cruise ships and just enjoying the new Seattle waterfront. So I think this will be a really great place to expand our brand. Okay, let's move to the next slide. And then we talked about the importance of making more whiskey. So we have a new partner. We've always been brewing with other breweries. You remember me saying earlier in this presentation that I was the first brewer at Pike Brewing. So we started brewing with them in 2013. They've been a great partner to us and still continue to be. When we were brewing with them, we were able to make some whiskey, but we knew we needed more capacity. So about 20 years ago, I was able to hire a fellow named Dick Cantwell to help me up at the Pike Brewing. Gosh, maybe that was closer to 30 years ago. Sorry. Dick went on to open up the Elysium breweries down in Georgetown, and they invited us to also brew at their brewery. So we did that for the first 3 years. We had both Pike and Elysium. Several years, so 3 years after that, Matt and Sarah invited us to use their incredibly new and modern brew house in Ballard called Fremont Brewing. So for the first 8 years, we were brewing exclusively at those 3 breweries. We were making sweet wort, so that's unfermented beer with no hops, and beer that hadn't had yeast added yet. We're bringing that into downtown Seattle and doing fermentation. We had 3 fermenters, and that gave us just enough to do fermenter a week, because our cycle on fermentation and conditioning is 3 weeks. So we were looking for a way to grow beyond a 1 fermenter a week, which, by the way, yields about 5 whiskey barrels a week. And the only way we could figure out how to do that was with fermentation off-site. Thankfully, our friends that we've known for 25 years down in Oregon moved up here and was working and started helping build Talking Cedar. His name's Scott Leroy, and Scott I worked with at Pyramid Breweries many years ago. The Talking Cedar Brewery is 15 miles south of Olympias in a town called Grand Mound, Washington, sometimes called Rochester. The Chehalis tribe built that distillery, and it's giant. It's both a distillery and a brewery. So what Talking Cedar's been able to allow us to do is fermentation on site. They have the capacity to do the fermentation that our other brewing partners didn't. So we had to do all the fermentation at our own location downtown before, limited by only 3 fermenters. That has that capacity constraint has been removed by working with Talking Cedar. So we're now able to make as much as we can afford to make. Now it does cost a bunch of money to make whiskey. We have to buy all the grain, we have to buy all the transportation, all the barrels, we have to pay excise tax on it and storage. So we have quite a bit of expenses, but that is now possible with investments to grow and grow and grow the amount of whiskey we're making. So we're looking to have a couple of times increased capacity this year with your investment. And the cap is as high as 5 times increased capacity without having to add new distillation. We'll always plan to do distillation right down here in the Seattle waterfront. So we're not building any more equipment for that. We're just simply using the brewery at Talking Cedar. All right, and again, I'll take questions on any of these things at the end. So let's talk a little bit about why it's so important that we get this going right now. Well, for a lot of reasons. So one of the important things is that we're already a leader in this field of American single malt whiskey and craft distilling. We want to keep that lead. That lead helps us get distribution. It helps us get found by new customers. It also is where we'll make more revenue to put up more whiskey. So the whole process is a virtuous cycle. As long as we're continuing to be in the lead, we get interviewed by the press and asked for more support from industry. So we feel like we are on the top of our game, and we want to keep running while we have this opportunity. We are, as I mentioned before, both a leader in American single malt whiskey and in craft distilling. And these opportunities to expand can immediately be putting revenue back into Copperworks. So we'll use that money to grow even more whiskey. One of the reasons that we're so excited about opening up this 2 tasting rooms is because the margins on selling whiskey, vodka, and gin directly to consumers by the drink are so much greater than the margins that you get when you sell by the bottle. So we know that to grow as big as we want to grow, we'll have to be selling through distribution all around the world, not just the United States, but all around the world. But in order to get that cash flow in, we want to have money coming from sales directly to consumers with the highest margins. And that's what these restaurants and experiences allow us to do. Let's keep going. Okay, so we're at a question and answer period now, so we're happy to start taking questions. I think the first one was, what's the average daily walk-in visitors to downtown Seattle? An interesting thing about that is it ebbs and flows, not just with the season, but also with the day. So in the middle of the summer, our best month is August. In the middle of August, when we're at maximum capacity, we've generally had between 150 and 300 people, and 300 being a crush, almost a bad experience. We're very much considering limiting the amount of people that come in so that we don't have a bad experience for anybody. In the wintertime, on a Monday or a Tuesday, we might only get 10 people in, sometimes even 5 people, right? So where the season is really important for us to take advantage of is the season that starts in June and goes through November. December is a very good sales season for us, but we don't have as many visitors. It does turn out that the visitors who come into the room buy a lot more than they do when they're visiting us in the summertime. Everybody is buying right now a flight, but I'm talking about buying a bottle. We have about a 25% conversion rate for buying bottles and almost a 95% conversion rate for buying something, whether that's a flight or a hat or a t-shirt or what. Jeff, you want to take up the next question?
Yeah, so the next one is, will there be a location where all the awards and medals will be displayed? Yeah, we sort of do that now. So in our tasting room, we have a wall of the bottles that are for sale. And what we do is kind of drape all the different physical awards on there so that, you know, people can kind of see them when they're in the tasting room. We've always had talks about kind of displaying some of, you know, our archive bottles in some kind of a display case. So there could be a day when that happens, and that would be kind of a fun place to put some awards as well. I will say some of the contests don't give you a physical award, you know, just like a lot of journalists are, you know, electronic these days. Same thing with the awards. They end up just being, you know, a PDF that can be displayed. So we do have a lot of those displayed on the website and the product page for each spirit as well. Because yeah, it is really important to show those things off to people that are considering buying the products.
Yeah, I'll echo what Jeff was saying about that. We do have a lot of awards listed on shelf talkers that go in grocery stores and liquor stores. We have them on product sell sheets, and we of course have them in announcements on social media. So the awards are important. Also understand that awards are expensive to enter. So, and of course, you're not guaranteed to win anything. So we are generally doing very well in our awards, and the companies that we enter into also generally allow you to use that award on their website to keep it posted for about 3 years. So a lot of the times when we get a great award like a best in category or a double gold, we'll consider entering again the next year. But if we have some other competitions we want to enter, we'll wait and keep that competition going for 1 or 2 more years. Okay, while we're waiting, if there are any other questions, we'll take those. And I'll also remind you that there's a email address that we'd like to have you send anything to. It has let me back up here. So we have 2 ways to contact us. One is for anything that you want to ask that is very specific to the campaign, please send that to the link that was just published in the chat. That's the link to our Copperworks distilling page on StartEngine. And then the other way to communicate to us is through ir@copperworksdistilling.com. That's just for investor relations, and we're happy to answer questions there. If you can't find that, you can always send any Copperworks Distilling email, and we'll be sure to get it. But ir@copperworksdistilling.com would be the best one for investor-related questions. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you haven't had a chance to make it down to the distillery in Seattle, we'd love to see you here. Please be sure to sign up for a mailing list if you're not on it, so that you learn about the projects that we're working on right now. And come out and see us in Kenmore when we get that open. We'll be having our 10th year anniversary celebration in October, so I'll also invite you to watch that and come to that. The various different events we'll be doing. So again, thank you. And this will be recorded. Feel free to share it with friends and let folks know. Hope to see you as an investor. Take care.